Hello guys, today we're gonna talk about loop. I'm gonna make my videos shorter. I don't know, it seems students are not going to them because they're too long, 40-50 minutes. I prefer that, but I don't know. I'm gonna try today to make it as short as possible. Okay, today we're gonna talk about loops. We have three types of loops. One, let's say we have the for loop. Two, we have the while loop. And three, the do while. And we use loops wherever we need a repetition. You need to do a repeat in the CN. Any statements you need to repeat, we need a loop. And there's different uses for those loops. If you need a C out to be printed more than one time, we need a loop. CN, a calculation. Any statements in C++, wherever we need repetition, we're gonna need a loop. And I think the best way to do that is take examples. We have, those are three types of loops that we have. Those can be divided into other categories. Let's say this is a count loop. And what I mean by a count loop, we know how many times it's gonna loop before it loops. If you want to count from 1 to 10, I'm gonna use a for loop. I can still use a while loop, but there's other a while loop. Let's say it's a do while. It's a trigger event loop, and this is also trigger event loop. So mainly, but we can implement any in the other. Mainly a for loop, we know how many times we're gonna loop before we start looping. In a while loop, a do while, it's gonna be we're gonna loop, or this program's gonna loop until a trigger or an event, something happens, until what? The user presses K on the keyboard, until the grade equals 100, until something is gonna trigger it. So we don't know how many times exactly it's gonna loop before it starts looping. So that's why they call it trigger event, and that's why this is a count loop. We know how many times it's gonna loop, and this is the main structure for the loops. And remember, C is case sensitive. We have here, we have the initial value, the condition, and here we should have semicolons. Be careful, guys. For loop, any loop, we need three things, and my update for a for loop. This is a for loop. While loop, we're gonna need same thing, but here how's a while loop look like? The body of a while loop. While I'll have the condition here, I'll have the initial value here, and we'll have, let's say this is the body of a while loop, we'll have the update here. Important things, some people sometimes put comma inside a for loop. This is wrong. Sometimes people put a semicolon here, and what does that mean? It's gonna loop in the back. It's not gonna give you an error, but it's not gonna do nothing. Meaning here, it's just saying you have an empty statement, you have nothing here to do. It's same as with an if statement. And usually the first line after an if statement or a for loop or a while loop or is the body of that condition, let's say, or loop. The first line here. So if I have here statement 1 and statement 2, what's gonna repeat? only statement 1 is going to repeat. Statement 2 is not in the body of the for loop. So if this is going to loop, this is the one that's going to loop, just statement 1. Statement 2 will not loop. Why? It's not in the body of the if statement. It will be implemented after it finishes this loop. After we finish this, it's going to go to this. Remember, sequential, C++, line after line. It has to get here, but it has to finish this first. To include statement 2 in the body of the for loop, what we do is, I'll put a semicolon, curly braces here, and curly braces here, meaning I want this, the body, whatever inside the curly braces, to loop this many times, same as we did here with the while loop. The do while is different than the while is do, and I have a curly brace, the body of the do while, do anything we want, and it's gonna be, I'm gonna have the condition here, while condition, and it's really important here to have a semicolon. This is different, and I'm still gonna have here initial value and I'm gonna have the update here. Please guys, remember 3 things for any loop: initial value, where I'm gonna start looping from. I want to start from 0. Then the condition, where I'm gonna stop at, which is the end value. Let's say I'm gonna stop at 10. And the update, which is what? Am I gonna increment or decrement? Am I gonna go up? I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, or am I gonna count 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, depending on what we want. And we're gonna take some examples on those, and let me include the for loop in this one, so I don't want it that much short. So let's save this as loops, and it should go to YouTube videos. That's for it. And lecture 10. Today is lecture 10 we're gonna take. So did I cover most? Semicolons, okay. Initial condition or expression, we can call it. So okay, a do while, it's different than the condition. The body of the while loop is implemented at least once. So first it does the do, whatever is inside the body, then it checks if the condition is true, it goes back and does it again. If false, no. So this is going to be done at least once. In a while loop, no, we check, then we do. If it's not true, it's not going to do it. None. And the do while is useful for menus, and we'll see in an example why. But now let's go real quick and check for loop, and must copy. Let's do copy where I am. Okay, must copy, and let's say for loop. Let's name it for.cpp, and let's do gedit for.cpp. It's opened here. Let's see what we have. Okay, remember I have this as the here. This is gonna be my program, and we're gonna run a for loop just to test it and see what happens. So let's see, what do we have. We said a for, I need an initial value, and let's say we want to count from what, 1 to 10. Integer count, let's name it, equals 1. My initial value is 1. We need 3 values. Initial value condition, where am I gonna stop at? I'm gonna stop at count. You can make it less or equal 10, or I can make it less than 10. Semicolon, remember guys, semicolon, and I'm gonna be incrementing count plus plus, or here we can say, instead of count plus plus, you can say count equals count plus 1. It's the increment, it's adding 1 each time. So let's do this. Let's see, let's run this. What do you think it's gonna do? D++ dash O Gaith and 4. I also input put stream library. Okay, I didn't save it. Nope, I didn't save. And let's run it. Did it do anything? It looped, but it didn't give us anything. Why? We didn't ask it to do anything. We didn't put anything inside the body of the for loop. And let's go back to the program and let's do gedit. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this and run it on the online compiler. Maybe the Unix Linux confuse you guys, so let's go here, Control V, and here we didn't output anything. What do we want to output? Let's say cout. I want to output just a 1. Let's see what happens. What do you think is gonna happen? It's gonna print 1 11 times. 1 2 or 10 times, 1 to 10, 10 times. I'll let you know why I said here it's gonna print 1 10 times. What if we put space and comma? It's gonna print what? See, printed those 1 1 1 with spaces. Now what if I add an end line? 1 minute, let's see this. Do you think the end line here is gonna work? Let's see. Is it gonna print them each one on separate line? No. Why? It didn't take this as the body. It did a new line, but after it finished the loop, we can't see it. So the cursor actually is now here. So what can we do? We can either do this, or I can add it, but I want to show you this. So I want to do all of this. So first print 1, print space, comma, space, then end line. Each time it loops. Each time it loops. Let's see. See, it gave us 1 1 1. Now I want it to print what? Count. I want to see how many times it's looping. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. I want to change my initial value to -5. You think that's gonna change anything? -5. You can see the output here. Can we change this? Okay. We can see the output here is going from where? -5 to 10. We usually start loops with what? 0 to whatever. Let's take the equal out of here. So it's gonna go from 0 to 9. It's gonna stop at 10. So here's what's happening. integer count equals 0. Is count less than 10? Yes. So cout 0, cout the body space, cout end line. Now finished. Go back, increment count. Now count is 1. 1, is it less than 10? Yes. Cout what? Count, cout 1, space, comma, and end line, increment, count is 2 now, it will output 2, and so on. Now we can do it in another way. Let's say I want to count from 100 to 50. I'll change this. Do I want to include the 50? If I want to include the 50, I'll put the equal sign, and I'll do what do you think this is gonna do? Let's do this. Let's run this. I say it's gonna give me an infinite loop. It's looping, but it doesn't show here. So Control C. Now it's not exiting. Oh, stop. Okay, we lost the compiler.